So in a way, there is really nothing to teach. It's just a gathering of friends. What we truly are is not something that we need to learn or that somebody can teach us. Simply, it's a sharing of our own exploration. Whatever resonates for you is meant for you. So you don't need to really take any notes. You simply be. You simply be. Just in presence. Simply being in presence is what satsang is about. It's being in presence. The presence is our innate nature. We are presence. The reality of everything, our reality, the reality of our experience is presence. And this presence is what speaks and what perceives. And this presence is not personal. It does not belong to any entity. It has no borders. It is not contained. It has no skin, no shell. That's why I refer to it as a universal presence, impersonal presence. Our true nature is this impersonal presence. And to simply recognize your true nature, what you truly are, is what the spiritual journey is about. But this recognition is not simply a mental recognition. It is a recognition whereby the impressions of me, the limited impression of me, of personhood, dissolve. So in a way, you could say that it's a transformation from a life of a person to the revelation of consciousness, the revelation of truth, of reality. If you have any questions about what this non-dual teaching is about, this is your opportunity to share your questions so we can explore them and go into them together. There is really nothing that I teach. There is no teaching as such. It is simply bringing some clarity to whatever confusion or whatever questions there may be. So our true nature needs no repair. What we truly are needs no help. It's full and complete. It's already like a diamond, shining, crystal clear. Whatever needs repair or needs improvement is in the imagination. But this imagination, this imagined me that needs help, that needs salvation, is very sticky. It's difficult to dispel it. Somehow it keeps coming at us. But in deep sleep, it completely dissolves. And in moments of beauty, in moments of joy, in moments of happiness, this sense of lack and sense of need is also absent, which is really beautiful. But these moments of beauty, these moments of peace are sporadic. They occur on occasion. While our true nature is eternal peace and happiness, undisturbed. The mind is in constant turmoil. And the turmoil is due to the identification that somehow we have inherited and that we maintain, the identification with a person. In other words, the belief that I, this conscious presence, is a mortal entity. So if you have any questions that you would like to discuss. Seeker, you're right, having read some description of how mind may be working or done some guided meditation, mind and thought seem to co-opt, substitute itself for the investigation in awareness. You see, thought is perceived. You perceive thought. Whatever mental activity there might be arises in the space of awareness. So, although there might be some thoughts about you, about me, or there might be some feelings or bodily sensations about me. I'm getting better, I'm not getting better, I'm doing good, I'm not doing good, I'm improving, I'm failing, I'm not loved, I need to be in better relationships. Whatever thoughts or bodily sensation you perceive arise to you, to the open aware space. Without the open aware space of perception, there are no perceptions. In other words, everything that you perceive through awareness, through consciousness. I use those two terms, awareness and consciousness, synonymously. So this is a very important part of your contemplation, to contemplate not just what is being observed, not just what is appearing, but the space, the aware space that perceives. When there is an interest in the aware space that perceives, which is the aware space that right now perceives these words or perceives this perception. When there is an interest in the aware space that perceives, the perceived ceases to have, ceases to steal the show. Let me say it again. when there is an interest in awareness, in consciousness, in what perceives, what is perceived becomes less important. And when what is perceived becomes less important, it ceases to rock the boat. The boat rocks when what is perceived seems to be important. Like in your night dream, when you perceive a lion chasing you, your boat is rocking. You run as fast as you can away from that lion. At that moment, you have given the importance to what is appearing rather than to the awareness. So in your meditation, in your contemplation, in your investigation, your interest is in presence. It's not in results. It's not in what may happen, what you may get out of it. It's not in the peace that you will get from your practice. Your interest is not in the peace, or should not be in the peace that you will get from your meditation. Because that peace that you will get from your meditation will cease when your meditation is over. Because it's an object, it's an experience that you are seeking. In meditation, there is no goal. There's nothing that you're seeking, nothing, no experience that you're trying to get. I know that might be, very unpleasant for a lot of us to hear. Well, if there is no goal, then what's the point of meditating? There is no point of meditating. Meditation is what we are. Consciousness is meditation. Consciousness is presence, is contemplation. It's everything that you perceive through contemplation. Now, there might be filters in your contemplation. Your perception might be filtered through a belief structure. The belief structure might be that, oh, I'm a male, I'm a 50, 60-year-old male, or I'm a 30, 40, 50-year-old female perceiving. That's the filter. That's the virus that is occurring in your contemplation. But as your interest is in the contemplative space rather than what is being contemplated, the contemplative space becomes more and more available to you, meaning it starts to resonate its reality. It starts to express its reality. Our belief structures are such that we believe that reality is out there. The world is real, and consciousness is, is something else. But the world is real. Some of us believe that consciousness is real and the world is real. So there are two realities. In either case, when you give reality to the world out there, you are bypassing, you are overlooking that which knows that reality. Because the reality of the world is known via consciousness. So if there is a reality to the world, that reality of the world has to come to the reality of consciousness in order to be known. So there is an ultimate reality, which is the reality of consciousness, that that gives the impression of reality to the world, to the body, to the mind. So I'm not much into guided meditations. It depends what you mean by guided meditation. When you are we are this consciousness. We are that. You can come directly to that simply by asking yourself, what is the reality of my experience right now? And just stay with that. Just stay with this question. There is a reality to your experience right now. What is it? Is it out there? Is it in the world? Does it belong to the world? Does it belong to the body? Does it belong to the brain? Does it belong to the mind, thoughts? Or is the reality, does it belong to awareness, consciousness? That's meditation. Meditation is asking that question, is this investigation. So in meditation, your contemplation is, what is it that truly perceives? To come to the revelation that what perceives, the true perceiver, is consciousness. And that the consciousness that perceives is what I am. We refer to I all day long. I drove the car, I see you, I called my mother. This I is consciousness. So that's meditation. Meditation is to contemplate what is the true perceiver, what is the reality of my experience. And once that there is some clarity that indeed what speaks and what perceives is consciousness, then you can contemplate that the consciousness that perceives, that speaks, has no form, has no shape, has no density, no viscosity, no borders. Yet it is very real. But it's not a phenomenal reality. It's not a reality that has a physical form. So once there is clarity that I am consciousness, then the next phase of your contemplation, of your meditation, is what is this consciousness that I am? What are its qualities? And you will find that it has no phenomenal qualities, but it has noumenal qualities, qualities of tenderness, sweetness, listening, peace, compassion, love, equanimity. Contemplation and celebration. Seeker, you write, what about the process of following thoughts, such as may have been suggested by Krishnamurti? It seems that perhaps this leads to the awareness from which they spring. Following thoughts. Yes, Seeker. So the process of following thoughts is it's not following them out, it's following them back to their source. So there is a practice. It's used in many traditions. In the Zen traditions, it's used, which is to basically trace the thought back to the thinker. What thinks this thought? But there is a simpler path with regard to thoughts. And you can be contemplating what I'm saying right now by listening and testing what I'm sharing with you. So as a thought arises, there is a noticing of the thought, right? Because if there is no noticing of the thought, then what are we talking about? So there is a thought, which is a form, a subtle form that's arising, such as I love my mother. And there is a perceiving of the thought simultaneously. There is simultaneously a thought and a perception of the thought. They're like one in a way. And then there is another thought that may arise, such as it was really a beautiful day yesterday. And again, simultaneously, there is the thought and the perception of the thought. There is a quality, a perceiving quality of the thought. We refer to the thought as a subtle form, and we refer to what perceives the thought as I. In both cases, the thought differs, but there is the same I that perceives these thoughts. Now, ask yourself, what happened to the I between thought A and thought B. Because there is a gap between thought A and thought B. If there was no gap between thought A and thought B, thought A and thought B would be one thought. But since we are talking about two different thoughts, when thought A ends, then there is a gap of no thought, and then thought B starts, and so on. Ask yourself, what happened to I, the witness of the thought, between thought A and thought B? What is this I? What is this perceiver between thought A and thought B? Now, when thought A is on board, I perceive the thought. Now, when you ask yourself, what is this I? You can also ask yourself simultaneously, what is asking this question? And you will find that I is asking this question. So I is asking the question, what is this I? So I is playing a game of hide and seek with itself. Because it's really silly for I to be asking, what is this I? It makes sense for somebody else to be asking, oh, what is, tell me about Mr. Joe who lives in Nicaragua. But for I to ask, what is I? Now, there is one confusion in this I. Is that there is this belief that I is not consciousness, that I am a male or a female mortal body mind. And when there is this identification, it is as if we have for that moment of identification, decided to forget that we are consciousness. It's as if we've decided to fool ourselves, to tell ourselves, okay, gee, I don't know what I am, but I know that I'm a man or a woman born in 19 so and so in such and such a city. And I want to know what consciousness is. So I ask myself, I do meditation practices, and I ask myself, what am I, what am I, what am I, what am I? Yes? Now, what I'm asking actually is, what is consciousness? Because when I'm asking, what am I, I'm asking, what am I really? Not just what am I? Because you can go in the street and ask anybody, what are you or what am I? And they'll tell you, hey, are you stupid? You're a 6'1" tall man, But no, what we're asking is, what am I really? What is the reality of the I? Meaning, what is consciousness? Because the reality of your experience right now is consciousness. Awareness is aware space. And the female or male impression is a perception, something you're perceiving, is a form you're perceiving, is a form that you, awareness, is perceiving. You, consciousness, is perceiving. So that's the little trick here in this what am I? There is an assumption that I, the person, can know what consciousness is. But I, the person, can never know what the consciousness is. Because I, the person, is an imagined dream. It's an identification. There is no person. And because there is no person, this person that does not exist cannot find what exists. The unreal cannot find the real. The imaginary cannot reveal the reality of consciousness. The perceived cannot perceive. So, in the contemplation of thoughts, back to their source, you can directly go to the aware space that perceives the thought. And this aware space is yourself, is I as consciousness. And this yourself, the I, is not a personal self. It is the I self. It is the self of consciousness. It is the universal self. The image that may appear or that appears differs, but the I, the awareness that perceives, does not differ, is not contained in a body, in a brain, in a house, in a building, in a city, in a village, in a galaxy, in a universe. It's not. The body, the room, the city, the town, the planet, the galaxies, the universe are contained in it. That's the I. That's the I that perceives thought. It's the same I that perceives the weather. It's the same I that perceives the weather here, and the same I that perceives the weather in Calcutta. It's that same I, the same aware space. So space has no borders. So when you're contemplating thoughts and the source of thoughts, ask yourself, what contemplates? What is it that is contemplating? What is it that is tracking the thought to the source? I mean, do whatever practice you're doing, but ask yourself at the same time, what is it that is tracking the thought to the source? What is it what is the true perceiver? So you ask yourself right now, what is the true perceiver of this perception? Don't step away from yourself. Actually, it's impossible to step away from yourself. You are the self. Just realize that the self is not limited to a body-mind. Seeker, you're right, the perceiver has no qualities. I'm going to come to the rest of what you wrote in a minute. No, the perceiver has qualities. The perceiver has qualities, but they're not phenomenal qualities. The perceiver has no shape, no size, no borders. It has no gender, it has no color, but it has other qualities. It has qualities that we refer to as divine qualities. It has qualities of perception, meaning knowing. It's knowing. Yes? So the perceiver has the qualities of knowing. Right now you know this perception, which is knowingness. It has qualities of understanding, intelligence, wisdom, peace, love. So you're right, the perceiver has no qualities. The guided meditation I wrote about was done by Dorothy Hunt. The idea was to answer a series of questions such as, how old am I? What is my shape, etc., without using memory to answer them. Yes, it's beautiful to be asking yourself those questions without using memory. Because when you are asking this question, what am I? What is my shape? What is my size? How old am I? Whatever, without using memory, but 100% without using it. In other words, zero usage of memory, meaning zero usage of thought, because memory is made out of thought. Yes, and time. Thought has a time quality to it through memory. So when you ask yourself these questions in complete presence, in other words, without using any thoughts, there are no thought answers. The question actually dissolves, because the question itself requires memory. You can ask this question once, but you cannot ask it twice, because you will need memory to ask it a second time. So when you ask the question, such as this question, without using any memory, without using thought, you are immediately in presence. But there is a trick about these questions, is that we ask these questions in order to get an answer. Then it's important to ask yourself, who is it that's seeking an answer? And what am I going to do with an answer? Because, you know, we love to collect trophies. We collect trophies, experiences. Gee, I've had 6 enlightenment experiences. I've got 8 kanshos. So what is it to be posing this question, what am I truly? But without the mind, meaning without seeking an answer. The question is already answered, but the question cannot be answered as long as the mind is seeking an answer. As long as there is a me quality, a subtle person with a begging bowl standing in the corner waiting to go home with the loot, then you are cheating yourself. Because you're asking the question, what am I truly? At the same time, you are holding on to this me who wants to get an experience or get an answer or get a result, gain something. So there has to be a complete surrender into the question. Just the question. But the question doesn't really matter. The form that the question takes doesn't really matter. It's your passion that matters. That I really want the full revelation of what is real. But it's not for me. It's just a passion. When there is a passion, you're drunk with the passion. You're crazy with the passion. You might die, be willing to die for your passion. But yes, it's very beautiful to be contemplating this sort of question without relying on the mind, with complete presence, in complete presence. But when you ask this question in complete presence, you are this presence. And presence is truth. It's not my truth or your truth. Presence is freedom, peace. So you can just simply rest in presence. Presence resting in itself. There's a great beauty in that. It's the source. The creator. The knower. The knower. In complete freedom. Well, thank you for your question, Seeker.
Hi, Magdi.
Yes. Hello, Ananda.
I'm here. So a question came up during that talk, and you kind of addressed it towards the end, but in a kind of way. But when we trace thoughts back to their source, like this Ramana suggestion that I've been following a long time, is there's something awesome about that. Go back to the source, and it's like some kind of great samadhi or something. But is that really any different from witnessing I'll call it insentient nature of thought midstream? In other words, you seem to mostly talk about as we are right now, not particularly in a zone of meditation or something, but just aware of what's happening, the thought stream. And is there anything significantly different between that and going to the source of thought, following back the I thought?
Mm-hmm.
I say here, in other words, the perceiver is the same as the source? Question mark.
Mm-hmm. So how do you trace a thought to its source? So when you come to look at a thought, let's do it right now. Let's take the thought, I love my mother.
Mm-hmm.
So when you look at this thought and you ask yourself, what is it that thinks this thought? Or you ask yourself, what is it that perceives this thought? Or you can ask yourself, what is it that conceives this thought? Or you can ask yourself, what is it that is asking itself these questions about this thought? All of these questions refer to I. Because it is I that perceives these thoughts. It is I that is asking whatever questions I'm asking right now about this thought. It is I that conceives this thought. And I can say that I might need to sort of maybe a little convincing there, because if there was another conceiver of that thought that is separate from the perceiver of this thought, which is I.
And that seems to be the person, it seems to be the body-mind person has a mother and came up with that thought.
Okay, well, if this body-mind has a mother and came out with that thought, so yeah. there is a conceiver, the body is a conceiver of that thought, then the conceiver of the thought and the perceiver of the thought, which is I am perceiving this thought right now, must be the same, because that the thought that is conceived must be perceived, right?
Yes, otherwise it can't exist.
Right. Now, there could be there could be, let's say, two perceivers of a thought. Yeah? Let's say that there are two perceivers of a thought. If there are two perceivers of a thought, then there is a conceiver of the thought. So let's say there is perceiver A, which is I, and another perceiver is the body. Let's say the brain. So there is a brain is perceiving a thought, and I am perceiving the thought. There are two different perceivers. Then the question is, well, what is it that is conceiving the thought? Is I consciousness that is perceiving this thought the conceiver of the thought, or is the body the conceiver of the thought? Now, given that we're assuming that there are two perceivers of the thought, both the body and I, then the conceiver of the thought must be somehow connected to these two perceivers, must be emitting, must be sending the signal, sending that signal to both the body that is perceiver A and the I that is perceiver to perceive. Now, what is that conceiver?
Yes.
What is that conceiver of the thought? Now, if there is a conceiver of the thought that is separate from the perceiver of the thought, then the perceiver of the thought the perceiver of the thought could not perceive the thought if it's separate from the conceiver.
I see. There's a common source.
There has to be a connection between the perceiver and the conceiver.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So otherwise, the perceiver would not perceive. That connection basically establishes that that the conceiver and the perceiver are one. Because if they're connected, there is some sort of reality that connects them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I went the long way around it to basically say that the conceiver of the thought and the perceivers of the thought are one.
Mm-hmm. And this takes care of the problem, big problem in my philosophically, whatever, for me, a long time, is that you don't want to, in true Advaita, you don't push anything away. So the idea of a thinker, a bogus person with a mother, it's like, well, what do you do with that? If everything all is one and all is complete, then it's no good to push. And I did that for years as a Vedanta student, trying to push away the body world. So now we have what you're saying. I'm seeing the wholeness of it, which is quite beautiful.
Well, it's important to contemplate what is this body-mind. It's really important. We need to come to understanding. Okay, it's not through understanding. There is a settling of the question. The question gets settled in understanding. Until there is understanding, the question remains. You cannot cheat around it. You cannot dance around it. Okay. So then we investigate. So we investigate what is this body-mind that has a mother, right? So we can investigate that. And the investigation can only take place in presence, meaning in nowness, right? Because this is where the rubber hits the road, is right now in this presence. So the investigation of what is this body-mind. So we look at it right now. What is our experience of the body-mind right now?
A few perceptions and a few thoughts.
Well, let's be specific. So right now, let's say in my case here, the body I'm perceiving hands and perceiving a form, yes, a body, yes. It's being really specific, you know. I'm perceiving this body. So there is perception.
Right.
Yes, perception of the body. I'm also sensing. I sense my back against the chair. There is an itch here. I scratch the itch. So there are also my nose. There are also bodily sensations.
Yes.
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 And also the body, possibly, that's not going on right now, but let's imagine that I'm seeing myself, seeing an image of myself, you know, grayish hair and whatever. I have an image, memory and thoughts and images, right? Or image of myself. And when I was 12 years old, playing with my brothers. Yes? That's also we refer to as my body. That's
even that old image, because we call it my body.
Yes, I mean, yeah, you'd say, you know, yeah, you know, when I was 12 years old, I was, you know, a skinny boy, you know, I used to play on the bicycle, you know, so there are images.
Yes.
Right? There are images. So the body in our actual experience is made of perceptions, sensations, and thoughts.
Yes.
That's the body. Now, what is it that perceives this perception? What is it that perceives this perception?
The best thing I could say, I like what you were saying earlier, presence. Only in presence can it happen.
Absolutely, there is. Absolutely. There is an aware presence. It's an aware, awake, perceiving, knowing presence. Right now, there is the knowingness of this perception, which we refer to as I. I'm perceiving this perception.
Right.
I is a knowing I. It's a knowing awareness. It knows the body. It knows the body as body. It knows the bodily sensation. It knows the thoughts. It knows the perceptions. So the body is known by I, this knowing presence. You with me?
Yes.
Yes. So the body is known, and I, this knowing presence, is the knower. Is a knowing presence.
Yes.
Is what I refer to as consciousness, aware presence, consciousness. Now, the body is known, yes? Can the body that is known, that is perceived, can it perceive that which perceives it?
No. It occurs to me it's like a lucid dream. It's like a dream where it only goes one way. It's dreamed and it's perceived.
Yes,
but the dream doesn't perceive its dreamer.
It's a simple, absolutely. It's a simple question, right? What is perceived? Take whatever it is that is perceived. Can what is perceived perceive what perceives it? No.
What imagines it? It perceives it, imagines it,
Yeah, it
conceives it,
imagines it, dreams it, conceives it. It cannot. It does not. So the body is not knowing, it is known. Yes,
okay.
Yes, you're following me up to now?
Yeah.
So we cannot speak of a body that perceives. So the body cannot perceive, which if it cannot perceive, it cannot conceive.
You could say it's an instrument of perception with senses.
Yeah, absolutely.
But not a perceiver.
You got it. Binoculars are a very good instrument of perception for bird watchers, yes?
Yes, but they can't dictate the results of the bird watching.
They don't perceive. It is the bird watcher that perceives.
Yes.
So how can then the body perceive its mother?
Mm. No, it doesn't. So even when there's the sweet interaction of a child and mother,
It's consciousness.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It's
This
love.
sounds like just an ordinary conversation, but it changes. You know, these kind of things change everything. I, I, these kind of things that are annoying for years, when the understanding is not there. This is great.
Right now, it's consciousness.
Yes. Otherwise, it's always a problem.
There are no problems.
Hmm.
The problem is when you are dreaming, you are a 10-year-old child running away from a lion that you are dreaming is chasing you.
Hmm.
You are dreaming that you are this 12-year-old child running and running, and you're dreaming that the lion is running closer and closer to you, and you say, oh my God, I have a problem. The lion is going to eat me. It's like it's like the child that goes to the circus and the magician is sawing the lady in half, and the boy perceives a big problem. This magician is killing the lady.
But he sees his father laughing, right,
Yes,
and smiling,
right. So
and okay, it's okay.
there is no problem. There is no problem. So your father tells you, and then your father whispers in your ears, "Hey, listen, there is a mirror in the back, and blah blah." And you say, "Oh, really?" And then he takes you to the back, and shows you, and then you see the lady is actually not, it's just that she's just standing, or she's sitting in a chair, and then the child goes, "Oh wow, wow, Daddy, wow, that's great! Oh my God!" And then he becomes fascinated with becoming a magician himself.
You know, I have a younger brother, 6 years younger. When I was about 10 or 12, he was about 6, and I remember telling him a lion has escaped from the zoo, and it's in the neighborhood. And we hid under the desk.
Nice brother you are.
Oh my gosh. I was the opposite of the father in this story.
I see.
And I still feel kind of badly about that and other things.
Yeah,
Though I loved him.
I'm sure it amused him. As sometimes we like to feel these feelings. They're fun. Oh my God. Yeah, I used to play with my kids also. Scaring them and stuff like that.
Oh,
Yeah, of course.
so I won't feel too bad about it then.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh, this is wonderful. You know, I wrote another question which
Mm-hmm.
I'm really curious about, and it's if I can just post it up, I'll do it. Does that come up? Hmm. Uh, oh, okay, there. And this is something I've been really wondering about, so if I'm not taking too much time, I'd love to have you read it.
Okay, so the question is, these self-arising wisdoms or knowings of a nominal nature, once contemplation of consciousness is established, are they absolute as in Platonic ideals? Well, you might have to explain the question to me a little bit.
Well, I mean, it sounds little bit relative. Like, okay, so you contemplate consciousness, and consciousness is limitless and has no boundary. And then, as in Dzogchen, they talk about self-arising wisdoms, or in Mahayana Buddhism,
Mm-hmm.
self-arising wisdoms. And you talked about it as knowings of a noumenal nature. Like
Mm-hmm.
I'm seeing those as
Mm-hmm.
something very similar.
Mm-hmm.
And I've always thought that seems a little relative. It involves thought, it involves, you know what I mean? Concepts of truth, love,
Mm-hmm.
compassion.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How do they, and that's why
Yeah.
I say, are they like
Yeah.
Platonic ideals? They exist
Mm-hmm.
forever.
No. Truth, love, compassion, intelligence, wisdom, beauty are
Hmm.
not thoughts. They're not. There are thoughts that talk about them. We use thought to
Yes.
to compose poetry, to compose art, to compose music, to share the dharma, and to answer questions. But they're not the qualities of consciousness. Everything that relates to consciousness is not at the mind level.
Okay.
So there are absolutes. They are absolutes. The qualities of consciousness, if I understood your question correctly,
Yes.
are absolute. So the freedom, sense of freedom, peace, happiness and joy, innocence, freshness, clarity, wisdom. All these are qualities, absolute qualities, divine qualities. They belong to God, you know, using a religious way of speaking. They do not belong to man. They do not belong to man. So when man, humankind, is experiencing these qualities, they're experiencing God. Yeah? They're experiencing their true nature for a moment. And the whole idea, I guess, is to, rather than having experiences of these absolute qualities for moments, to have these experiences of these absolute qualities for longer and longer moments, and more and more frequently, until it is so long, it's, you know, it's so long that the frequency becomes very, very unimportant, because now you are so yes, that's these are divine qualities, and they are the perfume, let's say, the perfume of the realization, the perfume of the self. So they're Satchit Ananda. It's Ananda. Ananda is the bliss of the realization of Satchit, that presence is consciousness. You know, that presence is consciousness, is a universal, the universal truth. Then comes Ananda, which is the bliss of the self.
Right.
Did I understand your question? You know.
Yeah, that was good. It's a little bit. I mean, I like the no nonsense, out of perfect emptiness or something. Everything comes. The idea, you explained it pretty, so I got pretty well, that they're not thoughts really. They're the nature of love, so to speak, and similar qualities.
The nature of consciousness, yes. So in the world, consciousness experiences beauty. In the body, beauty. In the world,
yes,
consciousness perceives beauty.
Yes.
Beauty.
Yes. I sometimes wonder about those things. I go on for years poetically lauding all these things.
Beautiful.
And but then I say, am I just making? Is this just sentimentality?
It says, well, it depends. If there is, when there is a me quality in there, that there is a pride, a personal pride, or there is a personal intention. Oh, look at me, and so on, and then it takes on these other qualities.
I see.
Of human qualities of ignorance and unhappiness, really.
Yeah. Yes.
But no, the world, the perception of beauty and the celebration of beauty and the enjoyment of beauty in the world, in the world, in nature, in people, is beautiful. In the arts, it's beautiful. It's a quality of consciousness. In the world, consciousness is perceiving beauty. And in relationship, it's perceiving love. It's experiencing love. Right? It is love. It's not personal love that has an intention, a personal intention or a personal agenda. It's just love. It's loving. And in the body, it's peace. It's peace.
Mm-hmm.
It's a transparency
Mm-hmm.
and expansion.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And in the mind,
Mm-hmm.
it's clarity, wisdom,
Mm.
and intelligence,
Yes.
discernment. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
All these are qualities of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, there's the poetry. To me, it's poetry. To some people, it's a living thing. They say Krishna is one of those enduring realities. And I'd just like to speak to that because I have, I mean, I used to go to the Krishna temple quite a bit, and I loved a certain vibe about it. But certain, it becomes a mixture of the absolutely fundamental and the almost caricaturish example of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Don't bring too much mind to it.
Okay.
Just follow the beauty, follow the happiness, follow the joy,
Mm-hmm.
follow the peace, follow the love.
Mm-hmm.
Don't bring too much mind to it. Don't analyze it too much.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Just don't go to the museum and take notes. Just enjoy. Just whatever what you don't enjoy, don't just go right by it. What you
uh,
enjoy, just enjoy it. Yes.
there's something in this for me because I was very involved in playing music with kirtan, bhakti-oriented kirtan people, and in recent months I'm so interested in clarity of what we're talking about that I just lost interest in being there, even though the beauty of the whatever it was, incense, flowers, getting to play music for people that are really listening,
Mhm.
all so beautiful. And well, maybe I'll go back to it, but
Whatever you love, whatever flows, for you, it may change. It doesn't matter. As long as
mm,
it remains in the love and the beauty, don't complicate it with your mind. Just if
mm,
something drops off naturally and another path, another direction opens, whatever it is, and
mm,
it's love and beauty and easy flow and not complicated, not contaminated with fear and personal intentions, but
mm,
it's open for the celebration, for the love, saying yes to what's happy. That's good.
mm.
Okay, Ananda. Yeah,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Thank you for your questions. So, are there any other questions?
That's something you said in a previous satsang, and I just wondered maybe you could say a little more about it. I contemplated that quite a bit.
What is it again? Can you read it for me?
Oh, yes. Your dear ones, typo, your dear ones can rest in your restfulness. They can rest in your absence.
So in a way, one could say that presence, which is peace, which is restfulness, which is beingness, is your absence. It is your absence, your complete absence, that is your complete presence. So it's the absence of the entire me structure. It's a complete absence of the phenomenal that is the full presence of consciousness. This is putting it in words. Of course, the experience is not a conceptual experience. It's the self being itself, consciousness being the reality, the living reality of all that is. So it is in your absence, which is a listening space. I think there are people who are quite who make their living working with people and being in presence with people. It's really important in being present to be absent rather than to be present. It is your absence that is non-threatening to whoever is in your company can rest in your absence, because absence has a space quality to it. Presence has more like the awareness quality to it. So it's a presence that is full of absence, and it's an absence that is full of presence. And the quality of this is peace and well-being.
One being?
Well-being.
Oh, well-being.
Well-being. So that in your worldly contemplations, there is this quality that invites whatever arises to come to the recognition of their peace, which is their absence. So you will find sometimes when you are with people and you are in this quality of complete absence, presence, that maybe they unload a little bit their mind, and at some point they sort of run out of stuff to unload in a way for that moment. Later on they might have more, but and then they experience a moment of this soak. They soak in the peace for a moment. That has a long consequences. Even a small soaking,
Mm.
a small soaking in the piece has a long consequences
Mm.
than just the impression of that it has at that moment. Yeah.
See, yeah, yeah. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this makes me think of my work when I sit with a dying patient. It has a lot to do with the family around more than the dying person often.
Mm-hmm.
Give them space to feel their feelings and
Yeah.
not
Oh,
stay
yeah.
in their mind.
Absolutely. 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 The, the there is an attunement, with that comes from just being in your absence. There is an attunement
Mm-hmm.
with the situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah? It's it's as if in your complete stillness there is a certain vibration that arises in the field.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and and because there is no noise in the space,
Mm-hmm.
that 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 vibration, that oscillation,
Mm-hmm.
reaches a harmony, reaches a harmonious state.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's the healing power of presence.
Mm-hmm. 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 Right. And then one might be able to say, all is well, and it rings true because
Yes,
of that.
yes, all is well. There might not necessarily be a recognition that all is well, but all is well.
Mm-hmm. Possibly not on a conscious level of the
Absolutely.
people around, but on another vibrational level, maybe.
Yes, and uh, the effect of being in presence might be experienced down the road,
Mm-hmm.
but they will not be wasted.
Mm-hmm.
This is why uh, it is encouraged whenever you have an opportunity to be in presence of sages, of
Mm-hmm.
teachers who are established in presence,
Mm-hmm.
to do so.
Yes.
Like uh, going to the ocean
Mm-hmm.
to experience the the vastness of the ocean and the horizon. You need to go to the ocean to experience
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
vastness of the ocean and the sky and the horizon, how they meet in that space.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Of course, the the qualities of the ocean, once there is an understanding, then you find that same quality of beauty and expansion and love when you are looking over the forest or looking over different various other situations. But this this memory of the beauty
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
uh,
Mm-hmm.
awakens the beauty that's in you.
Mm-hmm.
So the stimulation the stimulation of the beauty and of the love awakens the beauty and the love that is in you.
Mm-hmm.
And the more often, the more frequently you awaken this, you stimulate this love and the beauty in you, the more, the less likely it is for you to forget it in your life. It becomes more likely for you to experience it in your life more frequently.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, you will not leave it anymore. It's really important to aim for the peak and not to settle for any interim state.
Or the summit.
Absolutely.
Above all the peaks.
Yes, right. Yes. Thank you for the correction. Yes, for the summit. It is important to aim for the summit. Because that's what your heart wants.
Yes.
You don't compromise it.
Yes.
And there is no way around it. There is no, like when you run in a race, there is the first and the second. There is no third prize or second prize. There is no way around it. You can spin and spin lifetimes and lifetimes. There's no way around it. There is no way around it.
What comes to me in relation to this is don't go for the cheap fix.
Right.
Which is what life is, unless it's this. Unless it's what you're talking about, it's.
Yeah, you will not. You cannot be happy temporarily. It has to be happiness across the board. There is no way around it. You can't cheat that. You cannot fool yourself or fool anybody around that. You can fool others maybe, but you cannot fool yourself. You cannot cheat yourself. It will haunt you. It will haunt you in your dreams, in your waking state. It will haunt you. You have to come to the full revelation of the self. It is your gift from God. God said, this is what I put you on earth to do. We have no choice. We have to go for the complete stability in the self, the complete happiness. And it's a journey of love. It's a journey of friendship. The longer you travel on the journey, the more you encounter very beautiful encounters. It becomes more and more beautiful, more and more joyful, more and more loving. It's a path towards the riches, the real riches.
Yes. It's it's like where the heartstrings are resonating fully.
Yes.
And all the strings.
Yes.
Instead of an occasional grab here and push there.
Absolutely. Now you see, what's very beautiful about the self, about truth, is that it never goes away. It is available to us. It is what we are 24/7. We are 24/7 that. So the sages that say I am that, they don't say I have become that, or they say I am that. I meaning the universal I. They don't mean like I the person, I the man or the woman. I the one I am that. I am the self. Meaning I am truth, I am reality, I am universal consciousness, I am peace, freedom, joy, happiness. Ananda.
Mm.
Yeah, I am Ananda. So that's what's so beautiful, is in your contemplation of whatever you're contemplating, once you turn your attention to that knows, that perceives, that hears, and you contemplate the qualities of the self,
Mm-hmm.
then it's all revealed to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Just to persevere in your contemplation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, it's been very lovely to be with all of you. Thank you very much for your lovely company. Very, very beautiful.
Thank you,
We'll see
Mighty.
you. See you again. Thank you. Oh, hey, Isaac. Good to see you. Good to see you. All of you. Very beautiful. Very beautiful.